Sparking Change with Gigi, a show that aims to make the world a better place by bringing together authentic minds. This show encourages each of us to be the change we wish to see in the world. Get ready to be inspired and join us on this journey to create a brighter future for all.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sparking Change with Gigi. And I am your host, Giovanna Tartarone.
And I'm your co-host, Ahmed Bahman.
So today's show is going to be one that is very dear to my heart. And please stay all the way to the end because we're talking about quantum healing and energy healing. And from my own personal experience, when I first was introduced to this, thanks to Mr. Bill Farth right there as one of our guests, he absolutely transformed my life just to feel what energy healing can do from the inside out. And this is what we're going to talk about today, is how using energy healing as a source to begin your healing process. So welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Ahmed, I know you wanted to start with a special note.
Absolutely. Since it's the topic of the day, I just wanted to explain briefly what energy healing is. So energy healing is a holistic practice that involves channeling healing energy into a patient to help balance, heal, and remove blockages in the body. This practice is based on the belief that there is a vital energy that flows through all living things. When this energy becomes blocked or unbalanced, it can lead to physical, emotional, or spiritual issues. So, by restoring the flow and balance of this energy, practitioners aim to promote health and well being.
And so, this information for me to bring it to the awareness of my audience is, again, very dear to me because I do know it plays a crucial part in our well-being. So we're going to start with just having everyone introduce themselves. Dr. Kevin, welcome. Please introduce yourself. Thank you for coming on.
Well, thank you for having me. My name is Dr. Kevin Jarina, and I'm in southern New Jersey in a town called Medford, New Jersey. And I am a chiropractor. And I'll stack a couple of things here because they build on each other. I'm a chiropractic kinesiologist, a chiropractor, Reiki professional, chiropractor, quantum healer. I also am an author, a speaker. I just am an artistic personality that applies it through the medium of helping people access themselves. And as Ahmed talked about, delivering impulses of energy at the spinal level and beyond to stimulate the body's natural inherent qualities to balance itself and thrive. I also am a provider of quantum energy healing technologies. I'm connected to companies that provide superb nutritional supplementation and food replacement drinks and shakes and things like that, because what we put in ultimately builds the structure for how our body and our mind and our systems and our energy fields operate with and through. And I used to host a television show for a period of time. Now I'm into championing the idea of food forests into our schools and communities, because this is not only something that we all need to thrive and provide our sustenance with, but it's also a great healing, being around nature and fruiting and plants of that kind of nature, just a return and surrounding ourselves and all these different levels of what it is to be in alignment with our creator, the source, that allows us to express ourselves in greater levels. And this is where we've gone awry, is the further we are away from that, that's the sicknesses that develops at all these different levels that people talk about and are dealing with today. So my aim is to deliver care through the structure, through the mind, and through the nutritional body to bring out in balance and then restore harmony. And that's the nature of my business, which is called Harmonious Healings.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that. And I know that your work is truly appreciated from a quantum level for sure. Thank you. And
Thank you.
Nicole, welcome. Oh, can't hear you. Unmute yourself.
You told us to mute, so I did, but here I am. So
It's okay.
anyway, I just need a little reminder. So I wanted to thank you for having me today. I absolutely love, this subject. I think it's very important for people to learn about this. It's kind of been suppressed a little bit. And my name is Nicole Harvick. I'm known as the quantum energy healer and the forgiveness expert. And the reason I use those two together is what I have come to learn through my own healing, that everything must start with forgiveness, not just of others, but of yourself. We always forget ourselves, and we're really the most important part of the journey is ourselves. And what I do is I help you find and release old stuck trauma that has been in your body, either from something that happened to you, or it could be ancestral. And once we get that out of your body by whatever means, no two healings have ever been alike. Everybody goes through something different. And when we finally release that trauma, that allows you to walk your path of emotional freedom. And I've seen some really amazing things happen, not just with myself, but with my friends, with my clients, and people that I work on. And where there was once fear maybe surrounding this, it seems to be coming into its own now. And people are starting to ask questions, to understand a little more, and want alternative methods that they can do to help get rid of all that trauma.
I love that because, I shared with you guys before the show that, in the book, it says emotions guide our lives. So when you said you talk about forgiveness, and, and you put emotion, energy in motion, it just makes sense that the energy creates blockage in our system from these experiences that are unpleasant, and that we need to find a way to release that blockage. But thank you so much for sharing that. Hello, Krista. Welcome.
Hello.
You're my New York City friend.
I know. I am so thrilled that I actually met you in person. So my name is Krista, and I am absolutely thrilled to meet people from all over the world. I'm from Ontario, Canada. Now, I don't claim to heal anyone, but I use different ways and modalities to help restore health for your body, mind, and your spirit. My background is nutrition, and I'm certified in Reiki. I do Akashic records and intuitive readings, as well as I do coaching, and I'm a speaker. Now, I do write about how I healed myself and a whole lot of different things of how I helped others in my book that just made Amazon #1 bestseller, and it's called Skip the Pain, Experience the Pleasure. I talk a lot. Yeah, thank you. I talk a lot about how the way we think, the way we talk, and the way we act all create our reality. So absolutely thrilled to be here. And yeah, can't wait to hear what everyone has to say.
Thank you. Thank you. And Michelle, my good friend, how are you? Welcome.
Oh, thank you so much.
You have something special to share because I love what you do and what you introduced me to. But anyway, introduce yourself.
So I am Michelle Blaze, and I probably am very different. I am a branding, graphic, and website designer, so I come into this from a different perspective. But in my mid-30s, I decided I was going to heal myself with PCOS, and I did, and that's polycystic ovarian syndrome. And I did within 2 years, and it led me to all kinds of things. It led me to a Reiki master certification, healings with incredible energy workers. And ever since then, I have just been down this path. In fact, I just have gone through my own very personal healing journey by coming home and helping my mother for the last 2 years, who just recently passed. And that was an incredible healing journey in and of itself. But along the way, I've discovered emotion code, which I have not only helped myself, but amazingly enough, the generational aspect of it is incredible. And not only do people notice a difference in me, but in my daughter as well. And then I also do Akashic record readings, and I also help promote energy healing through these they're basically energy frequency patches, and they're patented. So I use that as well and help people in addition. So I've just been on the path and continue to grow and learn and develop what I have. And I'm always open to new things.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much. And yeah, we're going to talk about those patches later. And Bill, so I want to personally acknowledge Bill for having the biggest impact in my life, because after my cancer journey, Bill, I'm sorry. Bill helped me to see, to shift the emotions that were blocked in my body from that experience. And that is how my healing began. And I'm here to share with you, it's like, you ever gone to a restaurant that had the best food and you're like, I have to tell everybody about this restaurant? Well, I have to tell everybody about this energy healing. He introduced me to Psych-K. And that was my beginning journey of understanding how energy can affect our body. Good energy and bad energy both play a role in our well-being. And then I was on a mission. He introduced us a couple of sessions to me, and I'm like, okay, I'm a student now. And I went to take every class I could to learn more. And I am a certified Psych-K facilitator. I'm also certified in the emotion code. Anything that I can get my hands on, I started learning because it truly changed me from the inside out. So Bill, I want to acknowledge you and say thank you so much for putting me on this journey. I'm truly transformed, and I'm always grateful to you. Thank you. So please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Well, thank you for saying all that, but you got to give yourself some credit, because we're all here are lifelong learners. We want to know how the world works and how we can help and how we can be a blessing and make a difference. And you have a big heart, and you're a voracious curiosity about how things work and a desire to pay it forward. So I'm glad I can just be a little bit of a vehicle to help you do that. So my name is Bill Fouth. I'm a recovering accountant and financial advisor, I kiddingly say. I'm a Psych-K facilitator, and mainly, Psych-K is been around for like 33 years. And I guess I got to talk a little bit about my story, because, I was beaten as a child. I had a lot of a complex PTSD. So I had a lot of issues with authority figures and fear and safety and not being worthy and all that. And I had 20 years of modern psychoanalysis that helped me understand why I was the way I was, but didn't really heal anything. And then I had 8 years of law of attraction and moving up the emotional scale, and that helped some. But it wasn't until I found Psych-K. I read a Bruce Lipton book called Biology of Belief, and that sounded too good to be true. I was skeptical but hopeful. And then I read The Honeymoon Effect and how he said he healed himself with Psych-K. So again, I was skeptical but hopeful. Took me a year to do my due diligence. So finally, I hired a Psych-K facilitator. In one session, we were able to transform the emotional trauma of being beaten into a cartoon. Didn't change what happened to me, but it changed the emotional meaning making I've been spending a lifetime trying to transform into a slapstick comedy. So all the danger and the fear and the anxiety and was gone. So I found myself relating differently to people in the world, and I still had a lot of work to do on self-esteem, because how worthy can you feel if you're being beaten by your father? But the next month I was in a Psych-K basic workshop, then an advanced, then the health and well-being, and so I've been taking 10 Psych-K workshops. So I'm a believer, because for me, it was an energy modality that helped me transform my life like no other that I had found. So I'm at the stage now where I'm paying it forward and helping other people improve the quality of their life through transforming the unconscious limiting beliefs that they have. And I think the other thing that I think is that we all do is that, the mental model that we use is the iceberg model of consciousness. There's a small part that's sticking out of the water, but there's a huge amount that's sticking out. 95% of what our reality is below the surface. So how do we access it? And all the healing modalities are geared towards trying to heal the subconscious beliefs. And for me, Psych-K has been a tool, one of the few tools that helps do that effectively. So that's my claim to fame, and I'm in the process of paying it forward and helping clients with that. And ultimately, I want to do an affiliate program where other people can do this like I'm doing it. And
that's beautiful. And we know that it's almost, like I said, it's a secret that we can't keep it to ourselves. Once we discover this beautiful energy that we hold inside within us, it's time to let the world know, right? And this is our mission today. Chloe, thank you, Bill. Chloe, welcome.
Yes, thank you
Thank you
so
for
much
joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. And to piggyback on that, absolutely similar experience of encountering energy, the energy modalities, and wanting to share it out with everybody. So I'm excited to be here. And for me, my first kind of introduction to energy work came from a couple of things, which was I'm a licensed independent clinical social worker, and I had experienced some burnout in the field after about 10 years working with very acute and crisis work. And I had also experienced a lot of physical stuff that came out of seemingly nowhere, difficult getting answers on it, sought traditional treatment, and I wasn't getting benefits. So I started looking elsewhere, and I became a Reiki master. And that was really the first introduction that really changed both my professional and personal life. So did a lot of healing personally in terms of both physical, emotional, spiritual with Reiki, and have now integrated Reiki into the work I do as a clinical social worker, and have found it to be really extraordinary in how it can address things far beyond, I believe, what we could get to, and far quicker than what we could get to by traditional talk therapy. So I'm excited to share it out as well, because I think there are ways to integrate this in terms of the field of mental health as well. And I would like people to get kind of more learning and experience and understanding about it. And then I guess most recently, my interest in terms of energy work and healing has taken me more towards energy stuff, or earth energy, rather, as Dr. Kevin was talking about, reconnecting with the planet and Gaia, and ley lines and energy vortex things that we can also tap into. So that's where I'm leaning towards next, and leading retreats for folks to be able to tap into that energy of Gaia. So and I also have a podcast, The Source Within, as well. So lots to check out if people want to my website. So
this is awesome, because I do feel, and I concur with what you said, that Dr. Kevin mentioned how we need to get reconnected to nature, right? I think once we get that connection back, it is part of the healing process. Ahmed, you want to share your story a little bit before we, because I know you have a beautiful story as well.
Well, for me, I've been through a lot of emotional distress at a younger age, and it was a severe, how can I say, anxiety attacks. But over the years, I remember I used to go to a normal shrink, just like anybody else, but that was to no avail for me. It was only when I started embracing spirituality on one hand, and apart from that, I started learning more about nutrition, and I realized that main cause of a lot of things were two things in my life. One of them was toxicity due to the lifestyle that I had, and the second was deficiency. So it was just a slight change in my habits led me to a progressive healing in a way that I feel more energetic. I'm always calm, and I just managed to look at life in a completely different way. And apart from that, of course, I have always, for the past 13 years, I've been a student of the mind as well, and I believe that this has as well provided me with the greatest impact in my life, and it has transformed me to the person that I have become today.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So we'll go with the next question. Ready?
Okay, the next question is, tell us how healing came into your life and what has it done for you? I know probably a few you have answered that question already, but please
But
go ahead.
we'll start with Dr. Kevin.
When I was in college at University of Delaware, I had to acquire a externship in physical health field. I was studying to be a physical therapist, essentially. And the only one who accepted my application was a chiropractor, and I didn't know anything about chiropractic at the time. So I walked in and started doing the work of teaching people exercises, and I'm witnessing healing miracles seemingly each and every day, multiple times a day going on. And one of the earliest patients I had connected to was a medical doctor who was only 2 weeks away from a stomach surgery for an ulcer. And after 3 chiropractic adjustments, his ulcer went away. And so that thrust me on the path of I want to get adjusted. And at that point, I had played all kinds of different sports. I got injured significantly in sports and out of sports with concussions, facial injuries, all kinds of hits to the head. Seemingly, that's my path. Nonetheless, when I got my first adjustment, it's as if a whole new world opened up to me because I was in college football. I was getting measured in my speed, and my grades were being tracked, my strength, and just every physical performance factor that could be considered was being measured, tracked at least, and everything started to improve, just got better and better. And then subsequently, over the years of continuing through chiropractic school, I played men's rugby, and you just get banged up. And as I've evolved from those 20 years now, to keep myself well and to overcome injuries that had been attained when I was young and some new ones. I've gone through all kinds of things from physical care to mental emotional care, energy healing of all kinds of varieties many people may not be familiar with. And at each step of the journey there, I've found benefit in how, and I started to also see how each of the systems of the body were never separate. And as I continue to work on the different realms of the physical body, the emotional body, the nutritional body, the chemistry body, the etheric body, the spiritual body, so to speak, it became this grand dance between each of the systems at different points of time. And through that, I just continued my own studies to find better and better protocols and systems that had, reliable research, but also fit the bill of being natural, no pharmaceutical, no surgery. Just that mode was my aim of thinking that I knew there was always a solution, and just wanted to align myself with that solution, and just continue to spiral upward and outward. It's a continuum that expands seemingly endlessly, and yet where I think I'm at a place of, okay, I'm at the penultimate, there's another step that gets revealed. It's been around for, say, 30 or 40 years. Now the research is done. Now they're implementing it. It's like, it's exciting in many levels. And it's also reassuring as I also gain wisdom in a lot of the ancient thinking. That's the ancient philosophy is becoming the proven quantum physics now. And that's what's really super exciting. As I think we're in a shift, we're in the midst of a huge shift of how we operate as a society in healthcare.
Absolutely. I have a master's in banking and a master's in education, and I will tell you, nothing beats this knowledge that I've gained in understanding how quantum physics, energy, and how it guides our life. I mean, I never knew about chakras. I almost want to be embarrassed to say that I had no idea we had an energetic body, but we do. And that is where everything pretty much begins. And if your energetic body, from my understanding, please guys, tell me I'm wrong, but if your energetic body is in alignment and everything is working properly, you're in better health. When it's not working properly, that is when we start feeling some pain and ailments, and we are not well. So thank you for sharing that, Dr. Kevin. Nicole?
Well, my journey started, it was a pretty common catalyst, as mine started with a divorce. But what was a little bit different about it is the way I found out is my daughter, who was 11 at the time, she was visiting her grandparents in California. And one day she called me and she's whispering. And I said, babe, I can't hear you. And she says, I think Dad has a girlfriend. And I said, well, what makes you think that? And she goes, I'm getting all these texts and a lot of pictures. And so what was happening is her iPod Touch was synced with her dad's cell phone. And for whatever reason, everything came to my little girl. So that in itself was very, very devastating, along with actually having that tangible knowledge that he indeed had been cheating. You know how you kind of feel something's off, or you know something's off, but you approach him and you have nothing that you can prove. Well, I finally had the proof. So, you know, when I found that out, it was still very devastating. And I started spiraling just downhill. I mean, my all the things I had to do with my girls, you know, take them to school and take them to dance and take them to drum lessons. I was just doing it on autopilot. And I was exhausted. I cried at the drop of a hat. I mean, just my thoughts would create those tears. And I finally started thinking, you know, I have to do something. No one's helping me. I have to help myself. And so what I did is I started on a journey of learning about holistic methods and energy and what I can do to heal myself, because I'd gone, oh my gosh, I'd gone to psychologists, psychiatrists, women's group, and all we did is just go over and over the same thing all the time. And I would leave and I'm like, I'm more depressed than when I came. I thought there's got to be more. And so when I started thinking about all this holistic work that I could do, like several of you, I became a Reiki master. I got certified in sound healing. So I used a lot of tuning forks with the frequency to, you know, control my chakras. I learned how to find cellular energy in a body, that I learned how to find, you know, the trauma. I mean, I could plaster my wall with certificates, but what I learned, I wasn't getting better. And my hair was falling out and I was just scratching my skin until it bled. It got really, really bad. And during this time, my mother got sick with cancer. And by the time we found out, it was stage 4. So we knew that she was not going to make it. And so towards the end of her life, she was at my home, and I'm going to say about 5 days before she passed away, we had a conversation. Now, her and my dad had gotten divorced probably 20, 25 years ago. And she always said, I've forgiven him. I've forgiven him. I've forgiven him. And I sat there talking to her, and she looked at me about 3 or 4 days before she passed away. And she says, you know, she says he slept with all my friends. So this lady's getting ready to pass away, and that is what she's taking with her. And it was an epiphany for me that she didn't forgive him. She never forgave him. And I thought to myself, I am not going to let this man take my life, because I knew I was getting sick. And so I started that journey. So it took my mother passing away without forgiveness to teach me that what I was missing, even with all those modalities, was forgiveness. Yes. And, you know, at first I was very resistant. I thought, he doesn't deserve it. He doesn't deserve it. But what I came to understand, and a lot of people don't get this at first, forgiveness is never for that person. You're not condoning what they do, but what you're doing is you're releasing that burden they placed on you. And so many people think that, well, I deserve an apology, or, you know, they need to earn it. And I always tell them it's if they didn't care enough about you in the first place not to do that to you, not to speak those words or treat you that way, you're going to wait for an apology that never comes. You're talking to someone who might not even remember, or you're talking to someone that thinks you deserve it and they don't care.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah. So that's how it started.
Yes. And you know, I can definitely relate to how when we keep our emotions blocked, how it can absolutely cause us to not prevent us from healing. right? Because there's
Exactly.
something in there. And I've heard many stories how once they go down the path of forgiving people that have done something to their lives, the body starts to automatically heal. Because we are made to heal, just like we get a cut and it heals automatically. We have whatever it takes inside of us. So I understand now that, you know, when we go to the doctor, we go because we have symptoms and they're addressing our symptoms, but they're not really addressing the root cause of whatever is going on with us. And this is part of the root cause, is that we need to learn how to let go and forgive so we can start to heal inside. So thank you, Nicole, for
You're
sharing.
very welcome.
Krista, hello.
Hi, it's always amazes me who comes together. So I have been able to be inspired by everybody here. So a little bit about my journey. So I did experience some childhood trauma, and that kind of led me to be a perfectionist. I wanted to do more. I wanted to have more. I wanted to basically have a family, something that I never had. So I worked hard and went to school and always wanted to try to be perfect. I went and was a nutritionist, so I do understand how food is the fuel of our body. Having said that, I worked in conventional hospitals, which is a little bit of a silo. And as I continued on with my journey, I ended up getting these different symptoms, was tired and achy and different things. And I discovered that I was bit by a tick. I had the bullseye rash, and it was tested, and I had Lyme disease. Now, many years ago, they said, here, take a couple, an antibiotic for a week and you'll be fine. So, of course, I did that, and, you just go on. I don't have time to be sick, basically. A little while later, I was in a head-on collision and I survived. That sparked what they call fibromyalgia. And what it came down to, I was in pain. But this pain sparked emotional pain. I didn't realize that physical can bring back emotional pain. So all that trauma from the beginning all came up, but I still kept it down. And then actually 1 year, 1 month, and 1 day after my car accident, I held my husband as he passed away in my arms. We only found out 2 weeks earlier that he had leukemia. So we entered hospice, and that's where I was first introduced to Reiki. And when they work with him, when they work with me, they work with our son, I discovered the most profound healing I've ever had. And one of the things I wanted most to feel was peace, because I never, ever knew what peace felt like. I didn't even know you could feel peace. So that was pretty well the start of exploring any type of energy work. And like you said, I had really no idea. I was really like academic and very scientific, and things had to be like this. And it was like a whole new world opened up. And that's when I decided to work with a lady. Actually, she wrote a book a little bit about parts of my life, and I got certified in Reiki and certified in a whole bunch of things that helped me. I'll tell you a little later, but helped me along the way as I'm now currently battling a chronic illness. And basically, I was given 4 years to live, and this is my 6th year. And 4 years ago, I wasn't walking or talking, and well, here I am. So yeah, that's a little bit about that. Thank you.
You're not going anywhere, lady. Don't worry. You're here to stay. Thank you for sharing your story. Hello, Michelle.
Hello. Sounds like we all start on the emotional level.
Yeah.
And I can definitely relate. I would say as a kid, I learned to stuff down my emotions pretty hard. And then as a young adult, I rarely cried and would just really just everything was fine. Everything was fine, and just was always stuffing down my emotions, and kind of couple that with a couple of incidents where you have these little things that go wrong, and then the modern medical system just doesn't seem to fix it. And a couple of those times I just took it upon myself and I fixed it myself. And that's what brought me to, well, I don't like having PCOS. I don't like being on birth control pills. I'm going to heal myself of this. And it's wild how when you just make that decision, the people come into your life. You don't even, it's not like you don't even have to look for them. They just come in and they help you. And in unraveling that journey, it really ended up being stuck and trapped emotions that were the cause of that. And it was a lot of emotional release, and even just simple things like, I don't want to grow up. I still want to be a little girl. And of course, all those feminine things then just equate right to those organs in our body. So within about 2 years and a couple of modalities later, I was able to release enough so that I was regular. I no longer took any medication whatsoever. And then that just sparked my whole healing journey as to where I am now. And I first try to heal myself, and I think modern medicine has a place, but I always first try to heal myself, and knowing that just even on that emotional level, with energy healing, I don't have to relive a lot of these traumas. I can clear them almost with just the sheer will to clear them. And then obviously I'd had other people that were helping me along the way. So to know I don't need to relive or talk out things, I just needed to be willing to let them go.
I love that. You said something very important. You said, I made a decision to start my healing process.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it takes. It takes a decision that only you can feel connected to, understand. Through my journey, I know that I had the greatest doctors helping me through my journey. But until I made that decision that I was going to heal, that I would not accept anything else. I had two, my kids are now 28 and 18, but they were little. And and my mom died also of liver cancer. So I'm like, I am not going to die. Like, I know what it felt losing my mom at 30. And now here I am, I have my kids who are 9 and 17, 18 at the time. I'm like, I cannot leave them alone. There is no way. Like, I am not going anywhere. And my first thing was to change my perception of that phone call that I had. Talk about emotions, right? You get that phone call, you have cancer, and you're like, I'm thinking about my funeral and my kids and everything else. And now again, we'll go into Bill in a second. He helped me to transform that phone call from, oh my God, I'm going to die, to, oh my God, let me take control of my life because I am not going to die. There is no way I'm going to accept this. So whatever I have to do, I already made that decision ahead of time before I saw the doctors in my life to help me through it, because then I opened the doors to allow anybody to come into my life to help me go through that healing journey. But you have to take, I had to take ownership of saying, what do I want? Do I want to listen to my body and whatever it's saying, or am I going to just put it in somebody else's hand? So that is where, I truly can relate to everything you just said. And it does all start with a decision. Hi, Bill.
Hi. Since I talked about my journey before, or I can add a few things, but you want to just go on to the next person, or?
Can you just maybe mention a few of your clients? I mean, you worked with people and share a story that may also be relatable to how the energy healing of Psych-K has helped them.
Okay, well, you're a good testimonial.
Oh, well, I just said it, so okay. But yeah, to me, like, and Krista, you mentioned about peace. When that energy is flowing and you can get connected to it, it does, this is the experience I had. It brought a sense of peace, knowing that you're listening to that inner voice that is guiding you on the path to healing. And you're convinced by that inner voice. And I will say this with all my heart, nothing outside of you can be stronger than that inner voice that convinces you that no matter what you're going through, you're going to make it. And that is where the confidence comes in. And that is where you're opening up your heart to receive everything that you need in order to go down this path of healing. And that's what Psych-K had done for me and continues to do for me.
Well, for me, Psych-K, we're all, I just love being in this room with these, love-based people, and the energy that's here. It's phenomenal. It's like I'm just soaking it up, and it's wonderful. And because then you can give it out. It's not what we get, it's what we give. And so, on a quantum level, we're all made of the same stuff. Physics has proven that. Energy, right? And energy can't be destroyed. So that's a spiritual statement, that everything is eternal. Everything lasts for, So on a spiritual basis, we're all made of love and the same thing. And there's one eternal life consciousness, whatever you want to call it, universal consciousness, Gaia, whatever. But there's states and stages of consciousness we go through. And one of the things that fascinated me with Psych-K when I was taking the health and well-being workshop, they showed a video of placebo knee surgery. And I said, wait a minute, how's that possible? People get real knee surgery and then they don't get the knee surgery and everybody got the same healing? What's wrong with our mental models? What's going on there, right? And then they had another thing where there's 3,000 documented cases of a spontaneous remission from various types of cancer. The NIH has got it. The doctors don't know why. One day they're dying, the next day they're healthy, walking out of the hospital. How's that possible? There's got to be a mental model or something we're missing about the way the universe works. And I think it's on an energy level. We're all made of the same energy. We're all made of love. And it's our belief systems that cause us to have the different things that are experiences. So the idea is that how do we shift our beliefs? So for me so far, we all are looking to help people improve the quality of their life, but it's based on the quality of their thinking and the quality of their beliefs. They say, as your heart, guard your heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. Well, the heart is the subconscious. So that's kind of the fascination for me. And we're all doing the same thing. We're all trying to shift energy to help people have a better quality of life. So that's it's just fascinating. It's curious,
Yeah, it's actually, you said the magic word, being curious and looking into it, because sometimes we're just we're just conditioned to say that there's only one way, and there is never just one way of finding a solution. That's for sure. Bill, can you just, we mentioned Psych-K several times, but what is Psych-K?
Psych-K is a energy modality, and it helps people. It's a permission-based protocol where basically we get permission from people's superconscious mind, spirit, higher self, that it's safe and appropriate to make changes. We get permission from their subconscious mind that it's ready, willing, and able to make the changes. And then Rob Williams, who is the founder of Psych-K, got these downloads from another part of the galaxy, I think, or, about what Psych-K is. He was a businessman and a psychologist, and he was frustrated because the talking cure wasn't helping his clients get better. So he got angry at God, and he got these downloads in his dream, and he started using them on himself and then with his patients. And 33 years later, it's an international organization about specific ways or modalities of protocols, we call them. It's all permission-based, where using the protocols, you can basically transform the subconscious limiting beliefs. It's a way of bypassing the conscious mind and going directly to the subconscious. And again, because it's an energetic process, you don't see it, you don't feel it. The other thing that's interesting, because we are quantum energy, we're all made of the same stuff, it allows for surrogation, which means I can take on an energy cloak of my clients and do the muscle testing for them. It's through the question is, how do you talk to the subconscious? It doesn't speak English, right? It's through the muscle testing. So if you believe something, then your muscle testing in your body, or the energy in your body is going to be strong. If you don't believe something, it's going to be weak. So with the ability to discern that, well, now we can make statements and find out whether you believe something. If you do, then there's no work to be done. If you don't believe it and you want to believe it, then we can use the Psych-K protocols to install those beliefs. We can, Psych-K install limiting beliefs or change limiting beliefs. We can transform the perception of stress, which was my story, my attraction to it. Lifelong learning, trying to heal from complex PTSD and reparent the vagus nerve. And then also we get messages from conditions. And this is where I think there's no one right way to do this, but somebody has a condition. Is there a spiritual message in that? Or is it serving them a purpose? Or the universe tends to kick you in the shins until you pay attention. So it's another way of discerning what those issues might be. And then once we make them conscious, then we can, again, find out, what needs to shift, what mindset needs to change, or what beliefs need to shift, and then we can. Yeah, I've had some clients I've been working with for a couple of years that, that again, we spiral up in consciousness. Where we are today is not where we're going to be tomorrow or next week. So we're always expanding our consciousness. And, Psych-K, again, is a tool that, when I first learned it, I started using it every day as part of my healing modality, as part of my daily activities. I went into the Gaia portal, which I'll talk about later, and basically did my meditation there. I made a list of the things that were pissing me off, making me angry in life. And then how could I shift the beliefs around them? It took me a couple of years to really heal myself. That was my interest in Psych-K. And then now I'm at the stage where I want to pay it forward and help other people do the same thing. So
thank you, Bill. Thank you. Yeah, I totally can agree to everything you said, because I'm a living proof of it, right? And we're here to share it with the world. Chloe, welcome. Hi.
Hi.
Thank you for being so patient.
Yeah, no worries. I've loved hearing everybody and their stories. And I mentioned a little bit before about what brought me to energy work, but it was really after working the field for some time in clinical social work, hearing people's stories, I started experiencing vicarious trauma, which I don't think I even realized to the extent at the time. I don't think you usually do actually realize at the time, and doing a lot of things to kind of numb and cover it up. So I took a break from the field for a little while. I traveled a bit, came back home, and with all this medical stuff, very odd inflammation in all different parts of my body, weird shoulder injuries, just weird stuff that was kind of inexplicable. 6 months of PT and in Cairo, multiple visits a week. It was just inexplicable. And I had found a naturopath who was really profound, because she started saying and giving me the message about how my body could heal itself. And I hadn't gotten that message before that time. And so when you all are talking, I think everybody's speaking to this is like, we are capable, our bodies are intelligent systems that are capable of healing itself if with the proper tools and communication. But that wasn't something I'd ever heard before. And that paradigm shift, I think, really then allowed me to be open to, healing in other ways. And that it's possible. Because I had, when sometimes in the medical field, it was like nonstop advocating. And what am I doing? Well, I'm putting all my attention towards what's wrong and all the issues and the problems. And so what does that bring? It's bringing it back to me more. So anyways, when I had this shift and I could start calling in more wellness, that was a huge change for me. And then led me to getting trained in Reiki. That also, I felt like I had a tool that I could actually use. Yeah. I felt more empowered as somebody that could heal myself. And that, I think, was very impactful for me as well in terms of that. So yeah, a lot of physical healing from it in terms of outcomes. It helped me, energy helped me quit nicotine after 20 years through Reiki. I mean, lots of really cool things, but it was, again, that shift and knowing that we are capable, our bodies in our natural instant state are well. It's all this other debris and limiting beliefs and things, messaging that gets in our way of that. And so anyways, that shift really was huge for me.
I love that, because you gave yourself the opportunity to look at the opposite, right? The polarity of, okay, this is what it is, but what do I want? And you were open-minded to, just at least look into it, try it. Mm-hmm. And then you were fascinated with the results. And, so, and that's kind of like what I think where all of us kind of begin with, the opportunity of saying, okay, what is this? Let me try it and see if it works, and not say there's only one way. But it is a paradigm shift. So I do agree with you, because we're conditioned that, we need to reach for something outside of us to heal when the pain is inside of us. So it has to begin with inside. Yes. Let's take a quick, small commercial break, and we'll be right back with the next question.
Now, the vast majority Approximately 95% of the people of all countries go around and around without aim or purpose. They drift with the circumstances of life, good or bad.
A drifter is one who permits himself to be influenced and controlled by circumstances outside of his own mind.
Whereas the successful individuals create their own circumstances and ride them to victory.
When you're on purpose, you're living on purpose. You will never quit if you have a real purpose.
A burning desire to be and to do is the starting point from which the dreamer must take off. But what I have done has been recorded, it's been tested, it's being taken to a free world, and it's going to benefit millions of people who are not yet born.
And it's going to benefit millions of people who are not yet born. We're some of those people. That we're spreading this to the world. As your awareness grows, the doubt is gone, so that you can manifest whatever it is your heart desires. Isn't that beautiful?
So yeah, so that's that message of awareness that I want to bring out to everyone, whether, you know, it's about quantum healing or anything else, is understanding that we're here to make you aware that there are other ways of healing. Your next question, Ahmed?
Yes. How are you bringing awareness with your healing modality, and what are the benefits of the modalities that you practice towards
Back
others?
to you, Dr. Kevin.
Well, the primary mode in which I help people is something called neuro-emotional technique. And as Bill was talking about kinesiology, kinesiology is, for me, how we tap into that wisdom that's within. And in the forms of kinesiology I've been trained in and now been using for 9 years, I'd say, there's systems that prioritize what to do, in what order, in what way, for how much, for how long, to bring the system into its harmony, into its balance. And a lot of the work there is where chiropractic meets traditional Chinese medicine, traditional in the meridian system meets psychology. So in that, we're working on people's mind states, beliefs from two perspectives. Things that they know about, they want to work on. And that can be done through what we call a mind entry or a body entry. So the body could be having a physical pain. This is what I wrote about in my book, Decode Your Pain. The physical pain is actually telling a story. And we can connect to that and get the results from the kinesiology testing. There's a version of kinesiology that's been run through the gamut of the medical systems testing, and it has proven effective at getting the answer every time. And so when we apply this mode, we can address things through the physical body talking through, or if we have a known issue that we're working on. At the same time, we can work around it to the other perspective of something we want to become, and which there's things that can be identified that are resisting that becoming, or are fearful of what will occur if we do become that thing. And all this mode of kinesiology will point us to, there's a structure component that needs to be addressed, a nutritional component, a mind component, a toxicity component, or other factor in the field, in the metaphysical realm, in the energetic anatomy. All this can be put into the algorithm to check, so to speak, and that's called contact reflex analysis. It's a version of NET. It's a version of kinesiology that we can put NET into. We can put chiropractic into. We can put even Reiki or matrix energetics, reconnection, healing, all these different modes of things to know what component of our reality, of our body, of our mind, of our spirit, and how do we bring each into harmony. And the more that's in that alignment of that harmony, the more we can express it and live congruently with it.
I love that, because you're considering the whole body, whole wellness, right? You're looking at the mind, the body, and the spirit as a conduit to really create that harmonious well-being. Like you can identify where you have more or less in the body and where the need is, from my understanding from this analysis.
It could be intentionally based analysis in the sense of we have something to accomplish that we know, or we can be free form and the body will show us what is required that day to bring it into that harmony. It's been this wonderful, beautiful art where I get to let go of the education side, the learn side, and yet that also has these parameters, because it's as if when I learn a new methodology, now I see a whole new realm of how the body can be worked with, the mind can be worked with, and really there's no separation between any of it. And that then I start to bring in the concepts of cosmology, astrology, because we're not separate from that environment either. So it's this different dance of how we play in the milieu life, and really at kind of the deepest parts of how I look at life is we're living this holographic experience, and that this is kind of a Joe Dispenza conversation here now, where we tap into that creating our reality. The Napoleon Hill Foundation has been foundational in my understanding of how we use the power of the mind to bring about a reality in physical form. Though there's also this, there's some constraints with the cosmic patterns, though we can ascend that. It's simply being in alignment with that. So my dance of how I apply things has expanded yet simplified all at the same time, because of this mode of really honoring the wisdom within the body and how to have that conversation with that as cleanly, as purely as possible, while including as many factors as possible to get that simple answer.
I love that. I love that. I think I'm going to visit you soon. But Nicole?
The first thing I want to tell you about when you're doing any kind of energy healing or quantum healing and forgiveness is the first thing I start with is you have to listen to your client before you can just jump into something, because you have to assess whether do you want to start with forgiveness or do you want to go straight into trauma. And usually they're very afraid of trauma because something has happened that they have pushed down into their subconscious. Yes. But I always assure them that it has happened. You got through it. We're sitting here talking. So that helps them a little bit. And once we figure out where we want to start, I use either hypnosis or meditation, sometimes kind of one and the same, because it relaxes them. And then I let them guide me to it. And there's many different ways we get there. But once we find it, I use a lot of visualization in my work as well. And once we find that trauma and we can figure out what it is and who's involved. And unfortunately, a lot of the people that I have worked with, a lot of women, there is sexual trauma. So we don't want to re-traumatize. I always tell them we're going to take the pain out. We're going to take the emotion out, and we're just going to work on what is left remaining inside of you. And that's when we go in with many different tools. A lot of times we use visualization. And what I have them do is if we're going with forgiveness, I will have them be sitting in an auditorium, and they're going to be staring at a stage like an old movie theater, and the curtain is going to open, and that person who was part of this trauma or hurt them is going to be there. And we're going to walk through either forgiveness, or it could be anger. Every emotion is brought in, whatever they feel. And then we're going to forgive them. And that can be it's such a relief sometimes. So I've seen people throw up when they do this. I have seen them hitting pillows. I have seen many, many, many tears. And I always tell them the tears, I was told this by my guides, is when they cry about something that they're visualizing right then and there, what they're doing is the trauma is actually coming out through those tears. The cellular memory is being shed through tears, and that's very, very important. And, it's so amazing to go through this and watch a person's face, their physical features actually change. Mm-hmm. We start with the forgiveness, onto the self-love, and then the clearing of the trauma.
I love that. I totally agree with you that you watch the transformation occur right in front of your eyes. That's how powerful the energy that we have, this life force that we have within us, right? This energy. And Krista?
For me, it has changed throughout my life. Literally, I felt that I've been led. Sometimes I've been pushed into different areas, and it's usually because I've experienced them firsthand. So, as I was saying, I ended up becoming extremely sick, got seizures, ended up hallucinating. Basically, I thought I was going crazy. My doctors thought I was going crazy. So they pumped me up with all this medication. And it wasn't until I was almost in a coma state that my cousin entered me in a contest. And coincidentally, I won distant Reiki. And they had my wires stuck in my brain, 32 electrodes, so they can watch my brain waves for any type of seizure activity. During that night, she did some distant Reiki. The next morning, the neurologist walked in and said, "So I'm not sure whatever happened last night, but this is the first time we haven't seen any sort of seizure activity, etc." As soon as he said that, I knew exactly what it was. And I went on and explained to him. And he didn't look at me like it was crazy. He said, "You know what? It's surprising. A few other people said things like that." So once I think I got that validation and I felt I've been there, I was starting to release my own trauma because when I lost my job, I didn't lose my job. I wasn't able to work at the capacity I was working at. So I felt like I lost my identity. Who was I? And I started spiraling back down. And that's where I was introduced to different modalities. Again, one of them being Reiki that I already knew I had and just kind of forgot about. So I started using that. I was introduced to, it's called access bars, and you place 32 your hands in 32 points in your head, similar to where they put the electrodes, and they do so much healing. And that was another area that changed my life. And working one-on-one with clients, I do intuitive readings to bring clarity and direction in different areas. And again, similar to what Nicole said, it brings up different things that I don't focus on the pain or where they've been. I focus on what they want and where they're going. And I discovered doing Akashic records. And when I go into even my own records or work with other people's records, the profound insights that they've received from their past, their present, and they can see the patterns of where it may lead them to the future. I have literally seen transformation physically from people shedding weight, from people shedding years of trauma and being in relationships, abusive relationships. And I just, I stick to being grateful, even for myself. I'm grateful for, my car accident because I wouldn't have known what the gift of time was. I'm, grateful even for when my husband passed away because I would have never known what true love was. And even for my illness, I wouldn't have valued health. So yeah, I use all these modalities, and I can also say I've been there and try to get that rapport with some people.
I love that. I love that. And you're right. These experiences totally lead us to understanding life a little bit differently, right? Once we open ourselves up to receiving this information. And thank you for sharing. And Michelle?
So I help people in somewhat of different ways. So I love helping spiritual entrepreneurs and holistic health and wellness practitioners with their website. I understand what their business is and what their needs are, and also understanding website design. I know how to help them create a website that not only is going to attract clients and their ideal clients, but also grow their wealth as well. We all deserve wealth for no matter what it is that we do. We deserve compensation for that. So I help people through that. In addition, individually, I help people with emotion code. I'll do emotion code on people and Akashic records readings. But I really help, I think a lot of people coming for where I came at it from is with my podcast, The Wealth Within Us, where I just have different people on, like Giovanna has been on my podcast and introducing different modalities for people that they're searching, and I think they know that there's something more out there that they can be doing more. And I just don't think it's quite mainstream enough. So I am definitely on a journey to bring everything that we all do out to the mainstream and make it more of a norm. And the more people that we can bring about through podcasts and awareness and things like you're doing today, Giovanna, the more people that know, the more people can experience those for themselves. And I think, as Dr. Kevin said, it is bringing it to the masses, and that's spreading it out so we can just spread the awareness and people know that there are other choices out there, and this whole different sort of health revolution can come even faster.
Yes, and it's funny you mentioned, yes, you are a web designer for energy healing, but see how it has revolved to actually you are part of it to help spread the message in so many different, through your business of web designing, through your podcast. So again, once you get to experience how great of this quantum healing can affect us, you're automatically becoming that conduit to spread the information out. So I appreciate all that you do. Thank you for sharing, Michelle. And you did mention, and Krista mentioned too, about the Akasha records. Can you share with us what does that really mean? Because for anyone who has no idea.
To me, and maybe Krista, you feel the same. To me, I feel like you're tapping into, whether you're reading your own records or somebody else's, is that you're tapping into sort of their higher self, and almost like getting downloads to what I've found is that it's often sides of whatever issue that they're asking about and inquiring about, sides that they've never seen before, that things that they haven't thought of, and it is bringing in that different perspective. And of course, the Akashic Records is the record of all of your stuff, so you're bringing that awareness into people. So I don't find it's necessarily giving the people the answers, because that's for them to figure out on their own free will, but it's giving them direction and clarity, as Krista said.
And that does help people to heal. It's a process of healing when they find out what they've been through.
Yeah, and I'm sure Krista could add even more to that as well.
Am I right, Krista?
Yes, absolutely. You did great, Michelle. Literally, by just learning more about yourself, learning more about your past and your past lineage, all that information, brings it to where you are now. If you think in the past, when we talk about spirituality, they were witches and they were burnt at the stake. So you wonder why everybody doesn't talk about things now, because we're scared. So once you look at that, and people like you having these shows and bringing awareness to it, and people like us as panelists speaking up, and being here and bringing awareness to it and making it the norm. So yeah, pretty well exactly what Michelle said.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I think you bring up a good point, Giovanna, where you said, like, I sat there for many years and I'd had this Reiki master and these other things that I had learned. And you kind of think in your head, well, I'm a graphic and a website designer. What business do I have, like, sort of putting up a different shingle outside? and
Right.
and you do, and you question yourself, and then you finally like, well, why shouldn't I? So
That's
I
right.
hope that shows like yours and others, that we help inspire people to do that and mix it. I'm mixing it in with my website design, because why not?
It's beautiful. I love what you do, and you're bringing it all together, just like I'm doing it with this podcast. You're doing it with your website. So I do appreciate you.
Thank you.
And Bill?
So I have a request. I have been an urge to basically give everybody a hug. So can we give each other an energetic hug?
Aw, thank you, Bill.
Wonderful.
Thank
Peace,
you.
love, and harmony to all of you.
Now we can transmute this to the world, right? Thank you.
Yes. What goes around comes around. Pay it forward.
Mhm.
So I'm at the stage right now in terms of, I'm kind of like trying to be led rather than effort. I'm trying to allow and let the universe kind of unfold how to get this out there. And being on this podcast is one of the ways that the universe is providing. Giovanna texted me and said, can you do this? And I said, sure, why not? And
Right.
so opportunities are unfolding. But I think the time, we're at a time in history where the world is ready for this. I mean, we're at a huge consciousness shift, and we're all part of that, raising the consciousness of the planet. And So, the ways and means, Michelle, you're going to get a phone call from me at some point because, I have a website, but, I think it's like feeble compared to what it could be. And, how do we communicate the healing modality that we can offer, so that's, so I don't know, was that part answering the question, Giovanna, or?
Yeah, I believe so. Yes. Thank you, Bill. Absolutely. It's, it's about supporting each other, right? This is what we're doing, right. Not only in this group, but we're putting it out there to let people know that, you're never alone. There's always help out there. I mean, I just last Wednesday did a podcast on mental health. And, again, this is part of it. This is helping people to know that there is other ways of getting help, not only for your body, but for your mind and your spirit as well. And Chloe?
Well, that's a great segue, Giovanna, in terms of mental health and energy healing. I worked for the #1 freestanding hospital in the US and for many years. And I noticed that spirituality was not a regularly integrated component in terms of mental health treatment. And that also was a big spark of me kind of being like, wait a second, what's going on here? In terms of we are waking up, we are remembering, our abilities and our gifts. And so that is a big passion of mine. And I started this podcast. This has been very kind of recent in the past year that I'm really switching and pivoting from more traditional, clinical social work to there's more here. And how do we integrate and how do we have these conversations? And it's an interesting thing because just as Krista, you said, back in the day, the witches and things, it's no surprise that people are kind of, concerned about talking about this. And similarly, I'm really dedicated to be like, no, let's make this a norm so that people feel safe and are able to have these conversations without fear of persecution. And sure, we have a lot of healing to do because of the, persecution from the past lives. And that's where energy work can also come in. But that is something that I'm, very passionate about bringing awareness in because I believe so strongly that spirituality is a huge and integral part of our mental health. And so there needs to be more of a synergy there and a bringing together rather than kind of this separation, this dichotomy, or the fear in the field of, oh, but if we go to the spiritual stuff, it's going to upset the mental health stuff. And that's just not true, at least not in my experience and what I found in my work with clients and such, as well as my own, personal experiences as well. So,
yeah. I love that. And you're right. Bringing in spirituality as part of our healing, for me, I can speak for myself. That's what was missing. That was the piece of the puzzle. And, Robert Williams wrote the book, The Missing Piece. That's the missing piece that for me, if I didn't have that piece, I don't think I'd be doing the show right now. Because knowing that body, mind, and spirit that need the healing, not just one part, not the physical body or not just the mind, it's that spiritual part. And, when I started to bring this out, there was a part of me that was like, oh my God, I don't think I want to say this. People are not religious, or this is part of, I don't want people to think this is part of religion, because it's really not. Let's make that clear. And Ahmed, I'm sure you can talk a little bit about this, because you've also opened my heart to receive a lot of the spiritual part of that was missing within me. So you're one of my greatest teachers as well. But let's share a little bit about that.
Well,
a little bit louder. Me, I have a voice that is beautiful, but I can't hear it.
Well, with me, I realized the biggest problem that people have is disconnection from their higher self. And it was, I grew up in a religious family, and I always had an intellectual way of looking at it. And I didn't realize that in order to get there, you need to open up your heart to it. And therefore, it took me a great deal of time and study, trials and tribulations, and going back and forth. And I started getting into the realm of the mind. I started to study. And the question was always those in my head, why do we always do what we do and how to change it? And that was a time when I actually saw The Secret, and I started following Bob Proctor's teaching along the way. And studying not just what he was teaching, but I was even looking at the way that he was delivering. He had such a conviction of everything.
Yeah.
And he always talked about that everything moves from spirit to form. But it's never outside of us. The problem is that we can't really tap into the feeling of it. So I started, started with affirmations. There was a time that I even became quite religious, let's say, just following the prayers, keeping up with it, making sure that I'm diligent on time. And it's just, again, it was not something that the repetition that actually helped me, but it was more of when I actually surrendered is when everything started to change. It was at a time when I had to really be honest and authentic with me, is when things started to change. Because
And that's when you meant, tapping into our higher self is when
yes,
we
and
are true to ourselves.
absolutely. You see, scripture tells us that God does not change what's within a nation unless they change what's within themselves. And that just triggered the whole thing inside of me. And I said, okay, so the whole world is nothing but a reflection of who I am as a person. That's the experience that I have, and I can only see as far as what my sight can show me. But everything has to move from vision to sight. You use your inner light, and then you have the sun, which creates the photons, which allows you to have sight. And therefore, I took me a great deal to understand that. But unless you really live it, nothing's going to change. That was the wake up call for me, and therefore I made it part of my state of being by changing my state of mind.
And it all starts with you. It all started
with you.
With
Yes.
us, right? So yeah, and one thing when I was learning Psych-K, that was a shocker to me. And for those of you who are ready for this, will understand. For those of you who are not there yet, maybe you can do a little bit of homework. But we are spiritual beings having a human experience. We're not
Absolutely.
human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. And that is where the healing, quantum healing, energy healing is beneficial to us. And I want to just, for you to hear this, because I was in a big what? But then when I did my homework, I understand why that is the case. So are we ready for the next question, Ahmed?
Yes, the next question is, I want you to go back in time to think of a special case that you had and how you managed to have one of the best results out of your practice in the most impactful way.
You're up, Dr. Kevin.
It brings a lot of joyful memories back. Thank you for that question. Most recently, I had for 5 years, I ran a weekly quantum healing group, and I had a woman had connected to the group, and she, reached out to me privately about a few other topics. I gave her access to a Qigong program I personally love and use. So I started having her cultivate her inner forces. At the same time, I recommended her get some food support in different combinations of shakes for fruit and vegetables and proteins and things like that. And she was willing to follow up everything I offered because the Qigong had made such an impact for her.
I love them. That's all about a ripple effect, right? It's like you sharing it with someone. And this is the beauty part about energy, is that when they do get to feel it, it's an attraction to just share it and help others, because you also mentioned how good you feel by sharing that with her. So it bounces right back to you, right?
Yeah.
And that's the best part of it. Thank you for sharing.
Beautiful.
That.
Thank you.
Story. And who's next, Nicole?
Yes, and I'm trying to think. I've had so many that are interesting where past lives come up, but the one for me is I usually work with female clients, and this happened to be a man at the time, and he was very high up into the Arizona Cardinals Association, and so I'm like, oh boy, that's kind of a different mentality, a tough mentality, and a third dimensional mentality. And so I thought, oh man, this one's going to be tough. And I will tell you that when I do work with someone, I do have guides that if I listen, they will give me the questions to ask. So he came to me, this is one of his sessions, and he says, I really need to know why I go from really happy to really angry. He says, just in a snap. He says, I go from one to the other. So I thought, okay. And I was prompted to ask him to close his eyes and tell me what color he saw. And he saw purple. And so I asked him, I said, what color do you associate purple with? And he told me, he says, with priests, when I go to church, and I don't know what they're called because I don't go to church, but they wear those silk, whatever it is, those silk on them. I said, okay. I said, do you go to, or did you used to go to church? And he says, yes. He says, all the time when I was very young. He says, I would go with my two brothers and my parents. And I said, okay, tell me about that. And he told me, he says, he says, I'm in church with my family. He says, and it's very calm and I'm very happy and everyone's in a good mood. I said, okay. I said, what happens after church? He says, well, my mom cooks the same meal every Sunday, so we always go home. He says, and my mom's cooking dinner and my dad's getting drunk. I said, okay, what does that lead to? He says, he gets drunk. He starts yelling at us kids. He starts yelling at my mom. He says, I, as the oldest, have to take my brothers out in the backyard. They get in a huge fight and he leaves for the night. He says, this is like every Sunday. And I said, so in church, you're very, very happy, but in home, you're very, very angry, correct? He says, wow, I never thought of that. But we connected why his temper was like that. And it stemmed from when he was about 8 years old with the church to the family.
Wow. And it's so true that we don't even make that connection that, when I studied the subconscious mind, and it was Dr. Bruce Lipton that said, our genes, he's a gene biologist, and he's saying the epigenetics, or the environment of the gene, right? So when our environment, when we were young, really left an imprint, that we function based on that imprint, call it DNA, whatever you want to call it, but that epigenetic part is what's driving our life. So essentially our experiences prior to 6 years old, that's why I will stand here and say, please, families, do not yell at your kids when they're young, because they will never forget those experiences. And I'm, an example of that from when I was young. We came here from Italy, right? There was a lot of anger because we had to change atmosphere from our home country to here and trying to get used to it. And there was a lot of bad experiences growing up because of that change, that we made a lot of fear. But what I'm trying to say, the gist of this is that our experiences, when we have an emotional impact attached to it, will lead to us making decisions that sometimes are not the healthiest decisions for us. And we go down this path. So I can see how, you helping him making that connection has helped him to see it from explain why he had that gap, why he was happy and sad, and that's so beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking.
Yes. Krista?
Thank you. When Ahmed first asked this question, I was having this intellectual and intuition fight with myself. So intellectually, I wanted to tell you about this, certain client-based experience. Intuitionally, my heart was saying, tell this story. So it all started in the airport and I'm in line and I'm on my way to a book conference, and this lady behind me dropped some things, and I started to help her, and I could just tell by her face. And again, my intuition and energy is just drawn with her, and I can just feel her. And she looks in my eyes and she says, I'm so sorry to put you out and everything. And she says, it's just that I've just been going through this depression. She just opens up. She says, my husband passed away, and I have this arthritis, and I'm going through all this stuff, and I know I'm holding you up in line. And immediately I knew this is no coincidence that she's here. So she says, oh, I'm sorry to bother you. I said, no. So I pulled out one of my books and I said, I write a little bit about things that you've gone through that I actually can relate, as well as, losing a husband, having some health concerns. Having said that, I just would like you to have a copy. And she's like, let me buy it. I'm like, no, it's meant for you to read. And I really hope that in it, maybe there's a message that can help you. It's actually a short, easy read, and I write it with a lot of humor. So if anything, you'll have a good laugh. So as we went through, she says, I'll meet you on the other side of security. But we did lose each other. But I never lost track of her in my mind. It was probably about 3 weeks later, I got a message saying, Krista, I'm sure this isn't you actually getting this, and so it was her. And so I answered her back, yes, this is actually Krista getting this. So she told me a little bit about some of the messages and inspirations she got from my book and wanted to discuss a little bit more. So we set up a more formal meeting. And that's when I started talking a little bit about, spirituality and a little bit about energy work and some things that I've done and I do and how I continue to do to help, to help heal. And it's not a religion. We had to, kind of separate that. It's a way of being. It's about basically love. And so we ended up working together in different ways. She actually realized that she had a strong intuitive nature, so we helped explore that. So I ended up being like a spiritual mentor, and she was just amazed when I did Akashic Records, wondering why she had all these fears. Why did I fear all this stuff? And looking back, when we did these readings, it had to do with someone, back in her lineage actually falling off this roof. And now she had this fear of heights that she never knew where it came back from. Once we had this information, we can deal with it. And then more and more start coming up. I seen her literally physically change. I shared a little bit about how I shifted my depression and my spiral down using some of these techniques and really opening up and letting spirituality into my life. And I know I keep saying the word love because I really say that, when it all comes down to it, it's love. And Rumi has really inspired me. And he has this one quote I'm going to really quickly say. Love can stand for L, being listen, I hear you. O, observe, I see you. V, validate, I understand you. E, empathize, I accept you. And that just meant the world to me, and that shifted everything for her. So that's just one of the many examples, but one I'm really proud of.
Oh, that is so beautiful. I'm going to have to write that down and share it with the world for sure. But I do agree. I mean, I don't know how many of you have studied David Harkins, The Scale of Emotions, right? Love is the highest emotion that truly can shift this world, shift ourselves and shift this world. And thank you so much for sharing that, Krista. That was beautiful.
You're welcome.
Michelle?
Thank you for letting me share.
I think the most impactful, I would say, person in my life that I feel like I've had this impact on is actually my sister. So we've always been close, but she lived in Pennsylvania and I lived in Connecticut, and I just always lived away. And I was always kind of the person in the family that was, oh God, what's Michelle doing now? Like always doing some weird spiritual thing or the Reiki or whatever it was. And about 2 years ago, I moved in. I started helping her take care of my mom, and my mom had dementia and stuff, and so I started coming down more often to help take care of her. And I ended up moving in shortly thereafter, and sort of sold all my stuff in Connecticut. And what I brought with me was not just the ability to help take care of my mom, who was having a hard time and struggling, but it was almost like she became so much more open to all this stuff. While she had always been open to natural supplements and things like that, and knowing they worked. And my dad was huge on natural supplements and all that stuff. But it was sort of missing this almost energetic spirituality piece to it that I think you would call it like the missing key or whatever. I forget what you had called it, like the missing piece. And I think it was that for her. I've seen her in the last year and a half, almost now like 2 steps behind me. It's so funny. And just the way that she outlooks on life and, creating your own reality. And just, I think it was only 2 months ago, we got some really bad news about her dog, who's not that old. And she kind of started having this breakdown. And then all of a sudden I saw her before my eyes go, no, that's not my story. And that's not my timeline. And it was like, oh, those are my words coming out of your mouth.
Yeah.
So it was almost like, wow, she really is absorbing this stuff on a deeper level. And it ended up, I don't want to say it was nothing, but it ended up not at all being what they said it was going to be. And now she wants to help open health and wellness. She's a nurse practitioner. So she works in an ICU unit. So she deals with the complete opposite of things like this. So I just see the difference in the way she talks to me about her work. She does in-home health assessments and the way she does that as well. And now she wants to open up a wellness center, combining sort of this somewhat diagnostic approach with this more energy spiritual piece, which I think is just amazing. So for me, it's just opening up other people to a different way of looking at life.
You know, it's funny you mentioned the dog. And I will say this, that energy healing is not just for human beings. It's also for animals, because animals also carry emotions. And, you know, Michelle, you know, I've worked on your dog as well. So we have to also consider them as part of our lives, because they do make us happy. And I know my cat does, my poor little Penny. You know, she came into my life to help me with feeling better, but they also carry emotions as well. So thank you for sharing your story. And Bill?
So with Psych-K, it can be the one session, one and done. I've had people would come in with some fears of spiders or fears of public speaking, and they didn't come back, so I assume they got what they wanted. So I'll be able to transform that. But one of the people I work with was in the advanced workshop in Psych-K, where we learned 6 different balances. One of them is called the relationship balance. And the idea is that it can help, improve people in a whole brain state when they're looking at each other. And I got paired up with this woman who was a psychologist. She was coming in late all the time, and she had alcohol on her breath. And I knew she was struggling or had some issues. And so, and because we can surrogate, again, because we're quantum beings, I can take on a cloak of energy for pretty much anything. If that's a consciousness, we can surrogate for it. So whether it's a tree or a dog or somebody who's, made the transition, or somebody who's walking the earth today. So she asked me to surrogate for Bruce. And I said, okay, I'll surrogate for Bruce. So I did the process for getting the surrogation with Bruce. And and we did the relationship balance. And at the end of the balance, she started crying. And she said, why don't you be with me? Can you just be with me one more time? And I said, Bill Falk wanted to say, sure, let's make a date, or let's go, get out the calendar. And then this energy came over me of Bruce saying, no, I can't be with you. I love you. You're a beautiful woman. It's time for you to move on. I just can't be with you. And she was pleading to, just be with me. And I said, no, So during this process, we're standing 3 feet apart. I was getting closer and closer to her. The energy there of love and just wanting to, I almost grabbed her and hugged her and kissed her, because that was the energy that Bruce wanted to do. And so we ended the surrogation, and it turned out that the instructor said that was very healing for her, because her husband had passed away. And she needed to let go. She needed to realize it moved on. I didn't know I was surrogating for someone who had passed on. I thought it was, her husband or boyfriend, or, so it was a very powerful process to basically help people, help her heal from that. And
beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, you don't know what impact you're making until you actually see it, right, from their behavior. But thank you for sharing that, Bill. And Chloe?
Yeah, like all of you, it's hard to know which ones to choose, but I'll start with I had worked with a client for many, many years, somebody who has a bipolar disorder diagnosis, hospitalizations, heavier duty, I would say, mental health conditions, and lots of providers and all sorts of things, lots of people in the mix. And they had reached points of stability, though there were a lot of other things underlying to work on. And there's a lot of stuckness, I guess is what I would say, a lot of stuckness in the case clinically. And when I had started introducing Reiki to it, or to my kind of traditional talk therapy type of clinical work with this person, the shift in what I noticed very readily was a decrease in these blocks. Whether it be, a lot of the I can'ts, I do, a lot of the thinking, the limiting belief kind of thinking, but then that being vocalized and being challenging and moving forward in treatment. And I initially immediately kind of noticed this lessening of that allowed the space then to kind of do more of the work and move forward. And so that, that was huge. It wasn't like right. It was huge in terms of the kind of work that I do, and especially was with this person. And then just two other ones quickly I'll say is a friend of mine and she also has her own mental health conditions, but she felt like some spirit or something was kind of attached to her. And I had recently gotten trained in, as a Reiki master. And so I was like, oh, I'll just, give it a try. And she had felt extreme depression kind of since this potential spirit or something had come on to her or what have you. So who knows? I didn't know what it was one way or the other. And then I sent her Reiki virtually, remotely. And within a week to 2 weeks, this lift occurred. Like she really, started to be coming out of whatever it was. And lo and behold, I think it was actually attachment. At least that's what it was. My higher self was indicating to me. So that was really wild to me. And that was kind of the first working with kind of attachment stuff that I thought was pretty profound. And then one more on the animals, I'll be quick, but I was dog sitting, and they had 2 dogs, but then who I'd met both of them. And then, 6 months later or something, the one had passed away. And I noticed a difference in the other dog's behavior. Certainly when I went over there, she seemed sad, seemed depressed. Where was her buddy? Where was her friend? And I was doing Reiki to her in the same area of where the other dog would lay down. And I heard thank you. And, it was the other dog being able to transition. And that was pretty, also was like, whoa, really profound and really cool. And so, yeah.
No, I agree with you that, animals have the same feelings that we do, believe it or not, and they do have stuck emotions, and they benefit from this as well. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. So we're coming almost to an end. We have a few minutes left. And Ahmed, the last question.
Yes, from your beautiful hearts to all of the audience who are watching us right now, what advice do you have for individuals who are interested in becoming energy healers or incorporating energy work into their lives?
I guess we'll start with Dr. Kevin. Can you see the screen? Because you're not on. Let's start with you, Nicole.
Okay. I think the one thing that I would tell people is to be aware of how powerful you are, what a powerful being you are. And one of the things I found most important and integral for me was sitting in my silence and just listening, just hearing, just, being one with nature and listening to my downloads. And that's really what started my journey. And pick up books. There's so many good books that you can read. And, I hear everyone dropping The Power of the Subconscious Mind. And there's just so many. And believe in yourself. Just believe in yourself. You can make miracles happen, not just for yourself, but for others.
Beautiful.
Thank you. And Krista?
Thank you.
This is excellent. I think, first of all, having an open mind. So many of us, including me, when I was younger, limit myself into a box. And so, first of all, having an open mind that there is something out there that may be unconventional, and then continuing it on and saying maybe there's a power, of a higher self that I can tap into. While you're doing that, look and discover. Go online, look at TV shows like Giovanna's here. Look at podcasts, read books, and really become authentic. That's another thing. Is deep down inside of us, I really believe we know. We know there's something out there. We know there's something that wants us to be healthy, happy, peaceful, and feel love. So connect with your authenticity and go out there and explore. Take what helps and leave the rest.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And Michelle?
I truly believe that we all have whatever abilities inside of us already. So it's just about tapping into them and letting them surface. And it doesn't matter what you're doing right now, is that we all have the ability to do these things and look and see what resonates with you. And, you know, like Krista just said, just go out and explore and know that it's not just for special people. This is everyone. They're called, this is the Great Awakening, and we're all awakening, and we're all awakening at our own pace and to our own abilities, whatever they may be.
Yeah, I love that. You know, someone said, you know, you're finding yourself. What does that really mean? You know, when we say you found you're connected to your higher self, you know, knowing that we want something more. Like you said, we are seeking for something more, and that higher self, that other self that talks to us, wants to experience more. So I can agree with you more. Thank you for sharing, Michelle. And Bill?
I would say, you know, there's only one of you in the whole universe. So stop hiding your gifts. Share them. Get them out there. And we all have a unique ability to be a blessing and make a difference. What it is for each of us is going to be different. But
Hey,
the
you just
idea
stole my
that...
line.
Say it again?
You just stole my line.
Oh, okay. But that's the idea, is that, you know, there's 7 billion people on the planet, and there's only one of you, and we each have a life experience that's different. I mean, we all have some patterns to our life experience, but we all have a story to tell, and somebody can benefit from that. And the idea of traditional medicine as a tool for healing is basically being supplanted with this energy healing, because there's more to it than meets the eye. There's more to it than conventional wisdom says there is. So we need you. Get in the game.
Thank you, Bill. I love that. And Chloe, a tip for the viewers?
Yeah, I similarly to what other people said, just know that we all have a source within us. It's the divine self within us. We are capable of healing ourselves. We are, you know, very, very powerful beings that we're kind of awakening to, just as everyone else said. And I guess the other thing I'd like to say is that you don't have to see it for it to exist. And I think that's part of what we're opening up to, is like, wow, there's so much that we can't see, but that certainly does exist. And so that's also what I would share with folks.
Thank you. You know, my mentor, Napoleon Hill, says, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. You don't have to believe it. You have to believe it first. And then it will come to fruition, right? But thank you for sharing that. And Dr. Kevin, welcome back. The question, I think, you're welcome. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. So the advice here is to just recognize a healing force within you. And the art of all the different modalities within energy healing, natural healing, being in alignment with natural law, is to express your inherent qualities. And just as Bill said, we need you out there. And so this is a call for you to be you, for you to express yourself, and follow that interest, that thing that piques your intrigue and that curiosity, and to follow that and then deliver that out to others as you see that's most enjoyable for you.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. And we're going to do one quick last question. We're just going to go around. How can people contact you? Nicole?
I've made everything really simple. I'm on all social media and everything's under my name. You can find me on TikTok. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram under Nicole Harvick.
Thank you. And Krista?
Probably the easiest way is go to my website, kristarose.com. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram and everything else, but kristarose.com.
Thank you. And I'm just going to go back to Nicole. Nicole, you wrote a book. What is the name of your book?
The last one I wrote, it's in the Change book. And what I wrote about how to get yourself, explaining how to get from the third dimension to the fifth dimensional frequency, shedding the ego, rising in your power.
Oh, I love that. You're coming back on my show to share some more of that information. Thank you.
Thank
and
you.
Krista?
Yeah, my book is called Skip the Pain, Experience the Pleasure. My tagline is cut the crap that's holding you back so you can live the life you love. You can find it on Amazon or really anywhere, Barnes & Noble, wherever you find it.
I love that. Love it. So the invitation's out there for you too. And Michelle?
The easiest place to reach me, where you can find out about my website, emotion code, Akasha records, all that good stuff, is at thewealthwithin.us. And you can find all of that stuff. And if you would like to be a guest on my podcast, I would be more than welcome to have anybody there that is interested.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for that invitation. And Mr. Bill?
Well, I'm hiding behind the curtain, and I need to learn how to come out from behind it. So I've got a
You're
website.
out now. That's it. No more hiding.
That's it.
BeyondLimitingBeliefsNow.com is my website, or BLBNow.com. Or you can call me at 631-896-6270, and let's connect.
Beautiful. Thank you. And Chloe?
People can reach me at the-sourcewithin.com is the best way to reach me. Also, podcast is The Source Within, and Instagram, Facebook, all of that stuff as well. And I share the source within me with hopes it sparks the source within thee. Since we were sharing taglines, I added that.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, Spark is my thing too. So yes, thank you, Chloe. No accident here. And Dr. Kevin?
Yes, drkeving.com. It's drkeving.com. Much like everybody else, the social medias and whatnot. There's multiple websites that build off of multiple websites that all go through drkeving.com.
Yeah, I've actually had the pleasure of checking it out the other day, and there is a lot of great information on your site, and you also do a podcast as well. So, you know, if you talking to my audience, if you don't know where to begin, like reach out to any of these websites to just start somewhere. Take one step to get curious and to learn what this energy is all about, because it is truly life transformation. And Ahmed, final thoughts for today?
Well, I like what Napoleon Hill stated when he said, you're a minute expression of the divine that's been individualized. So take your divine power back into your hands, because this is your greatest source of power.
Absolutely. You have gifts to share with the world, each and every one of you. And we're here. We're all connected. At some level, we are all connected. And when we understand that, then we are responsible to make this world a better place. And it all starts with taking that first step to knowing who you are. And once you know who you are, then there's nothing that can stop you from being your best self. So thank you everyone for joining us. I appreciate for you taking the time, for each and every one of my guests for being here for 2 hours to share your wisdom, your knowledge, and for making a commitment not only to yourself, but also to this world, so that we can live a better life. So thank you everyone for joining us today, and you know where to reach us. Until next time, have a beautiful day. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me on Sparking Change with Gigi. I hope that our episode today has ignited a spark within you to create positive change in your own life and in the world around you. To learn more about how you can become a guest or supporter, head over to sparkingchangenow.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, please consider subscribing, sharing, and leaving a review. Your feedback is incredibly valuable to me, and it helps me to continue producing content that sparks change in each of us and the world. You can find us on various platforms, including Google Play Store, Apple App Store, YouTube, Facebook, Roku, Android TV, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Thank you again for watching, and I look forward to having you join me again next week on Sparking Change with Gigi.